Okay, so we got Rip Rawlings on with us today. Rip, thank you for being with us. Would you just
My
describe
pleasure.
what it is you do? What's your job?
So I'm the CEO of a Ukrainian aid organization. We're a full charity in Ukraine, and we're a pending status here in the United States, and we're pending status in Poland. So we're going to be a triple charity once all the paperwork comes back to us. What we do is in social media and other places, we promote what's occurring in Ukraine to try to get folks to understand what's occurring on the ground, and then ask folks if they're interested in providing donations so that we can turn it into aid. And so far, we provided over $1 million worth of aid. It's none of the people in my organization get paid, so we're all pro bono. We work about 60 to 80 hours a week, and we ship material, military surplus, and other equipment that we can get: blankets, jackets, cold weather boots, pretty much anything we can get our hands on. And we do take some donations. We did it for a little bit and realized we were getting a lot of kind of old blankets and things, and so we decided that's probably a little harder for us to deal with since we're so short-staffed. We don't have a lot of personnel, and so the best thing for us to do obviously was take donations and turn it directly into aid. We have about 6% administrative costs. We try to keep it very, very low. Like I said, no one gets paid, so we're all free. The biggest thing that we do have to pay for is some of the accounts that we use: Stripe, PayPal, GoFundMe. They all charge us a service fee of about 2%, which we just can't avoid right now. Yeah. But the other 94 to 96% of it gets turned directly into aid.
How long have you been doing this? Since the beginning?
Yeah, so we started kind of an odd occurrence, but my wife and I were headed out on an 80s cruise. We've been looking forward to it for a couple of years, and the invasion kicked off, and we said we just couldn't stomach sitting around doing nothing. She's a former Navy doctor. Now she works in the District of Columbia area, and I'm a former Marine infantry and reconnaissance officer. And both of us just felt the calling and decided we needed to do something. So we went and worked in the refugee camps over in Poland first, and then started moving aid into Ukraine.
Okay, so let's answer the burning question: How does anybody know where this stuff is going? Is the aid getting where it's supposed to be? Is there graft and corruption in the process in between? And how do we know?
So it depends on the aid that you're talking about. So aid that's military to military, that's our government directed aid, is in my mind quite a bit different than aid through public charities like our own. We have our own accountability features, but the government has some as well. So which one is most pertinent, do you think, to your listeners?
I think it's what I'm specifically wanting to know is the military aid and the money that is being given by the government. Our taxpayer dollars that are going to humanitarian aid. You're not in that space specifically, but you're next to it, and so if you're neighbors, maybe you know something that you can share.
Yeah, I'm also military, so it's difficult not to see the military contributions from the United States and other governments. They're readily present on the battlefield and in the rear. I'm not on the battlefield on a day-to-day basis. In fact, the closest I get is many miles away from the front when I'm in Ukraine. But I do see all the mustering areas and a lot of the storage lots. There's a fair amount. I mean, I think the greatest aspect, perhaps for public accountability, kind of the easy button for your question, is that Ukraine remains a free and open society. And so I first traveled over to Ukraine just as press. You did the same. I'm a credentialed reporter. And for me, I had full access. I mean, there were a few things that were restrictive, not restricted, but there were a couple things that I was told, listen, please don't report on that item because, it exposes a vulnerability. It was very clear to me as a former military member what the vulnerabilities were. And so I didn't report on any of that. It was generally to categorize what I'm talking about is, vehicles and equipment in the open in mustering and training areas. Those are the items that, I was asked to kind of avoid. And I did. So, but the rest of it, military aid, I've seen on the ground, everything from, HIMARS over to M777s. I mean, having operated with batteries attached to me as a reconnaissance and infantry officer. I know exactly what equipment is what. So I've seen it. I've seen it, on its way to the front lines, and the troops that we support on a daily basis see it in the rear of them firing in support. When it comes to dollars, I don't, the U.S. government hasn't pledged and given, I think, large cash contributions in a manner that people might think they have. And so I think what you're caught in between is you do have this public trust, and you have the media all over Ukraine that's reporting, and you've got international press that are allowed to come in through the Western Gate, if you will, and report on whatever they want. And so I haven't seen anything that's been closed to the public, besides a couple items, as I mentioned, that were exposed military vulnerabilities. And I've seen the gear and equipment that we've promised shipped through Poland. I've watched it in Poland in some areas, especially on trains and other locations. And then I've seen it in Ukraine itself. So yeah, I have no doubt. I mean, I understand people's, interest in kind of discovering and ferreting out, some ill-gotten item or some graft or bribery, or people on the take or whatever. I haven't seen any of that demonstrated. I've seen just the opposite. I've seen public accountability in their newspapers and in their media. I've seen the times that there have been corruption items that have been pointed out. There's been a very big article that was written about the International Legion and one of their commanders, and all of their press has been commensurate with our own, which is they're thrilled to report and expose anything that looks like graft or corruption or bribery.
Right. I've seen, of course, from interviewing the president and many members of his cabinet, all the way down to the lady that was running a dog shelter, a real desire to be open and transparent about where the money is going. I went to this dog shelter, and this poor lady was just overwhelmed with dogs from Bucha that had been left by their owners. And so I said, well, I want to help out. And I went to give her some money, and she backed away like it was Ebola, like, no, I can't take cash. I can't take it. It's got to go through the proper channels. And I mean, that was just a couple $100 for dog food.
I saw the same. It's funny. Igor Trax is a Polish off-road mountain biker, and I ran into him. He was doing the same thing. He had dogs from Bucha and Irpin, and also from Kiev and the surrounding area, just other areas. But he was a remarkable guy. He had, because he trains dogs, he had dog trailers, and he was just driving them in under his own expense. I mean, I've seen more stories of that. I mean, I'm out, tens of thousands of my own personal dollars because I believe in what I'm doing, and so does my team and the people that work. So I've run in and encountered lots of that kind of stuff, which is kind of more the opposite of what, I guess you're saying some people believe. So I don't know. I haven't seen or witnessed any of that kind of corruption. I've seen some other versions of it. So I've seen some charities that are either, wholly inept and just not capable of kind of managing themselves, in which case that's more ineptitude than it is anything else. And I've seen in a couple instances some Americans and some Brits that kind of tried to found charities for their own personal gains. And we reported those. We work closely with the Helsinki Commission. They have an anti-fraud, anti-corruption group. And we've also founded our own anti-fraud organization among charities. And it's got, we have 14 members of it now. But internally, the bylaws are that you pledge to do your damnedest to keep costs down and to ensure that what you're doing is correct, but also partly to expose bad vendors, because that's the other kind of corruption we've seen is vendors taking advantages of charities. They haven't been Ukraine based. They've all been European and US based and Canadian based. But these are vendors that promise a product of a certain type or caliber. And then obviously we don't do any weapons. So by caliber, I mean, it's goodness. And then upon delivery, we find that it's a much lesser product and that, they're trying to take us for our money. So, that's the kind of fraud I've seen is these third parties that are attempting to get something out of charities. But, the vast majority of the charities I've run into are good. And what I've seen from nation to nation, mill to mill transfers have been not only on the level, but probably a lot cheaper than what we should send. I mean, we're sending a lot of third generation equipment. I mean, sending the M117 is about as dumb as it gets. That, is a mobile metal coffin. I hated riding on it when I was in the Marine Corps. It's a death box. It's impossible to, keep everybody alive in it. You can't see a damn thing outside its vision blocks. And we haven't really used it in our inventory in any kind of a conflict since Vietnam. So to me, that's many generations removed from the donations we should be contributing to Ukraine. So I would argue that, we're not giving nearly enough, and that what we are giving is definitely getting to its sources and to where it needs to be. There's also anti-corruption measures internal to Ukraine that are, legal and, punitive. If you're caught stealing something from the military, or if you're in the military and you're caught, taking something, you're not just going to jail. You might end up getting put up against a wall and shot. So they're under war terms right now, and no one, wants to see, including their own citizens, no one wants to see things being wasted because they're fighting for their very existence. So I don't know. I guess I just get a little irked when I hear people talking about, seeing demons all around them, and especially in the Twitter sphere, because people kind of latch onto some stupid tidbit and say, oh no, I heard a guy who saw a guy who once talked to a guy who did a thing and they said it's corrupt. And you're like, okay, well, here's tens of thousands of pictures from that same group, organization, or foundation, and they're doing fantastic stuff. So I don't know. I guess I just get a little irked by it.
I agree. I do too. And a lot of that is just Russian propaganda. They're very, very good at putting that out.
Yep.
And
they're good at fomenting kind of fractures in people's relationships. We get attacked on our website 5,000 times a day by Russia. And of course, we deal with their trolls on a regular basis online. So,
yep. Well, how can people find you if they want to come and help donate to what you're doing?
Well, we'd love donations, and we'd love also, personal time. If anybody's in the DC area, we have pallet packing parties about once a week, where we take, 3, 4, 5, 6 pallets worth of equipment. It's like I said, I'm working 60 to 80 hours a week with no pay. And so it's a lot of hard work. I drive trucks, I pack pallets, I band pallets, I do all of our administration. And so if anybody wants to come out and, just to help us pack some equipment or some cold weather gear, we put that out on Twitter on a regular basis. Our website is ripley'sheroes.org. And so you can get on there and kind of see all we're up to. We love some tech donations. We're not the greatest when it comes to updating the website and other stuff. So if there's anybody out there that's tech savvy and wants to work from home, we'd be thrilled with stuff even just as simple as helping us kind of manage our electronics.
Fantastic. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you.